On the penultimate day of October, we continue to put the spotlight on a few important observations in the month. The celebration of our heritage all month long has reaffirmed our appreciation for this little rock. As the pages turn today, we traverse the Yam parish that has given birth to the fastest man alive. You don't want to miss that, so stay with us. I'm Adrian Atkinson, and this is Jamaica Magazine.
Si Marcia Osbande, ima one of the biggest joggies.
Wait, somebody a scream.
Lord, them a bundle price to work and never pay the extortion money.
Who them man there? How would them a do with Jackie Liquidata?
It's serious times. Speak up for justice and keep your eyes open. When you hear about any crime, report it. Silence brings violence.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, October 30. 11 student nurses will receive critical care training under the Ministry of Health United Kingdom Bilateral Critical Care Training Program. The nurses will train for 7 months in Jamaica and another 5 in the UK. This follows a cohort of 18 nurses and 5 faculty staff who received training in China under a Memorandum of Understanding with that country. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says arrangements such as these will help to address the shortfall of critical care professionals in the sector. This, he says, is sometimes caused from migration of nurses to work in other countries.
Between the China-Jamaica MOU and the Jamaica-UK MOU, it has basically more than doubled the capacity, right? At least double, but I suspect more than double the capacity for critical care training for nurses in the country.
Dr. Tufton was addressing the opening ceremony for the Ministry of Health United Kingdom Bilateral Critical Care Training Program on Monday. He says its success will be used as a template to address shortfalls in other medical areas. These include specialist nurses in accident and emergency, nephrology and oncology, among others. The health minister says a report will be done at the end of the nurses' rotation, and this will be taken to the World Health Organization for analysis and used to generate a model for other nations. Special needs children in Western Jamaica now have access to psychoeducational evaluation. A diagnostic and early childhood intervention center was opened at the Sam Sharp Teachers College last Tuesday. Minister of Education, Senator Ruel Reid, says the facility was established because of the growing need for children to access early intervention programs.
I want to see that come back now, that we track every child that is born and make sure they are developing appropriately, and where there is need for early intervention, it takes place.
Senator Reid says students will be assessed at the facility, and where the need arises, treatment will continue at their schools. The centre was established through a partnership with the Education Ministry, the National Education Trust, Food for the Poor, and the Programme for the Advancement of Childhood Education in Canada. Government Senator Carencia Morrison is calling for a safe sex campaign to educate the nation's youth. She says such a campaign is necessary to address concerns about unsafe sexual practices and the risk of sexually transmitted infections among the youth.
Let us talk to our children about HIV and other sexually transmitted infections. HIV has gone nowhere. Go and do the research, and we should encourage them too. With a young generation, many of whose behavior is of grave concern, we need to address this issue.
Senator Morrison was making her contribution to the State of the Nation debate in the Senate on Friday. She asserted that if parents were unable to talk to their children about these issues, they should seek the help of counselors. And finally, the first direct flight from Russia in 4 years landed in Jamaica with 310 passengers and 17 crew members on Friday. Nordwind Airlines Airbus 322 from Moscow arrived at the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay. For now, flights from Russia will arrive in the country once every 10 days, with plans to operate weekly. In welcoming the Russians, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says Jamaica could be the multi-destination hub for this side of the world.
Now you're flying to Jamaica, you're flying to Cuba, and you're flying to Domrep. Here is a wonderful opportunity for us to really pull that together and to offer to the Russian visitors multi-destination experiences.
This batch of Russians were the last to have required a visa to visit Jamaica. Recently, the government lifted the visa restrictions for Russians wishing to visit the country for leisure purposes and staying within 90 days. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thank you for watching.
So here are the facts.
7 out of 10 Jamaicans die from a non-communicable disease.
Because we love our people and we want them to live better quality lives,
we, the Ministry of Health and our partners, are launching Jamaica Moves.
Jamaica Moves is a call to action to prevent non-communicable diseases.
By educating and encouraging Jamaicans to be active, eat healthy,
and start living 30 minutes at a time.
Because 30 minutes of physical activity each day, along with proper nutrition, can go a long way.
To prevent your risk from developing certain NCDs such as diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and certain cancers.
And remember, it's life we're promoting. That's why you see me going hard right now.
I'm all about living.
So help us take this first step towards a healthier Jamaica so you can enjoy more moments, more memories, more life.
The talk of the town last week was the Prime Minister-led town hall meeting with residents of Heroes Circle and its environs. More on that and other matters coming out of Jamaica House next.
Prime Minister answers pertinent questions about the Houses of Parliament building, breaks ground for new community in St. Elizabeth, and...
My job is to make sure that Team Jamaica wins.
These and other news stories are next in Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. On Thursday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness hosted a town hall to discuss the planned development of the National Heroes Circle. He assured the gathering that they had nothing to fear from the plans.
Residents who will be affected should have no fear. The government will put in place a fair, that is equitable and transparent process to ensure that you are not disadvantaged.
Mr. Holness said while the Houses of Parliament complex would be built at Heroes Circle over the next few years, the 300 acres around the park will be developed in phases.
As your leader, I have taken a break from the history that has shaped our government, and I am here to put Jamaica on a new trajectory, a new pathway to progress and prosperity for all the people of Jamaica.
The Prime Minister also addressed the concerns of crab vendors on the outskirts of the park, as well as the vouch clinic, which is now inoperable.
Certainly, as it relates to the provision of health care, as has been mentioned, this is something that I will look into. My short answer is yes, they will be incorporated into the development here.
Ahead of Thursday's town hall, Mr. Holness met with the plenipotentiary representative of Singapore to CARICOM. The Prime Minister, who is chairman of CARICOM, and Ambassador Karen and Tan Ping Ming spoke about sharing experience on several matters. Among them, disaster risk management, public administration, urban planning, finance, information technology, and civil aviation.
If we don't run the NHT like a bank, then the NHT will not be able to deliver as they have been delivering on the demands and the requirements that we have placed on them. So I have put in place a board at the NHT that you could almost consider it to be a financial board.
Prime Minister Holness speaking to the governance structure in place at the National Housing Trust, NHT. He says that fine-tuned management has resulted in the agency delivering 892 housing solutions since April. An additional 4,144 homes will be made available by the end of March next year.
You have Shekels coming, that is in Clarendon, 48 units. You have Latium in St. James, 183 units. You have Twickenham 4, phase 4 in St. Catherine, that's 134 units. In Manchester, there is Perth 1A, that's 118 units to come. Then there is Fontabelle in Westmoreland, 355.
Other developments are planned for Manchester, Clarendon, Kingston and St. Andrew, as well as St. James. The Prime Minister was speaking at last Wednesday's groundbreaking ceremony for the Friendship Oaks Community Project. Phase 1 of the two-phased development will involve 229 serviced lots and 4.8 hectares for commercial use. The NHT development will cover 91 acres. Before that, the Prime Minister dispatched his Finance Minister to St. Anne for the passing out service of the latest batch of Jamaica National Service Corps recruits. At the October 20 event, Minister Nigel Clark announced that 1,500 more recruits would be trained under the program. He said they would be trained in 3 batches by October 2019.
We are indeed pleased by the progress that has been made in this program, and it has been so successful that the next cohort that's to begin training on the 28th of October will be the largest contingent of persons to ever be trained by the Jamaica Defense Force.
The 220 graduates are the 4th batch of Jamaica National Service Corps, and they underwent 16 weeks of rigorous training. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
When you're on the road, take your time. When you're on the road, bear this in mind. When you're on the road, you could save a life when you're on the road.
If you're a regular viewer of Jamaica Magazine, you would have realized that all month long we've been profiling cultural treasures across the country. That continues today as we journey round the bend to the home of Bendong Market. Let's go.
In Trelawny, there's a little of this and a little of that. So all you have to do is come discover and experience. Okay. Rafting on the Matabray River is part of the offerings here in Trelawny. So when next you're in the parish, come on down. Captain JK, take it away.
Yeah, man. No lele. We don't play. This is how we stay. Everything gotta be okay.
High five.
Blessed. Yeah, man.
So how long you have been doing this for?
I've been doing this over 2 decades now.
Oh, 20 years.
So I know this stuff quite well, you know?
Okay.
But actually we're on the rapids now, you know?
Wait, stop. We can't end this moment so soon. No, sir. Hold this frame for a little while till we go check out some other places and come back.
Welcome to Falmouth Olive School, once the home of Fort Belcaris. This fort was built in 1811. It was built to protect the harbour and the town of Falmouth. Falmouth in those days was a boom town, boom, it had a lot of money, and so persons would like to come in and plunder, so this was built. Soldiers were housed in the building at the back, and they were the ones who were manning the fort.
And this is where the armory was stored.
Now, in later years, the fort was used no more, and so in 1902, it became the Falmouth All-Age School.
Now check out this almond tree. It is said to have been around before or from the days of Fort Belcarras, which means it is well over 200 years.
This mill behind me here is a relic of the slave plantation and of the sugar production when sugar was king in the 18th century. It is part of a large estate called Holland Estate. The thing about it is, this property no longer belongs to a slave holder, no longer belongs to a sugar plantation, but is actually the site of William Knibb Memorial High School, named after the famous emancipator, William Knibb. It is quite ironic that in a place where slavery thrived and our forefathers suffered, now sits an institution of learning for the descendants of those very same slaves. Ironic, isn't it?
It's all about the nightlife here in Trelawny as well, where you can experience the colorful transformation of the glistening waters Luminous Lagoon. To capture this part of my tour, I had to start the night before.
We do nightly boat rides. You can come on down and see the flashes of light once the water is being disturbed. We are the only natural night attraction in Jamaica, and it is also known as the world's famous Luminous Lagoon.
We had a magical experience tonight. It was a great time. Highly recommend it. We'll definitely be back.
It's nothing like it in the world. I've never seen anything like this. So awesome time.
Glistening waters to the world.
You see why you have to come to Trelawny? And if bargain is what you want, then Bend Down is the place to be. What go on, my friend? All right, tell me, what's so popular about Bend Down?
Bend Down, everybody can come here so can get cheap goods, cheap clothes, everything.
Oh, so how you get the name Bend Down?
People from all over Ireland, you know, just come here so they just throw down their things anywhere and sell.
Oh, and people used to have to just bend down and
people
pick up
just
the
bend
stuff
down
and
and
things
take up
there.
anything.
All right, so I'm here for some bargain, so maybe I should bend down and pick up mine. Bargain for real. $100, another 100, another 100, 300, and I'm going for more. All right, thanks. All right, thanks here.
I like my Parish Trelawny because the water is so cool, it's been cool and nice. And I like the environment is so clean and the new market is so amazing. That's why I love my Parish Trelawny. Big up Trelawny.
Here's more about this parish.
It's all about peace and tranquility, ambience and relaxation, you know? Yeah, man. Bless up.
After a long day exploring Trelawny, this is the perfect end. Just relaxing on the Martha Gray River. Until next time, when I catch you around the bend, later.
let's get a little breeze on this land. All right. Now let's get some bounce in the rhythm. All right. Let's get some fire on our hearts. Now that is what we call all right. Run, come, get some Jamaica.
The tourism industry is the country's biggest foreign exchange earner. As such, work is apace to ensure that the industry is resilient against disruptions that may cause a fallout in visitor arrivals. Take a look.
It is the fastest growing industry, yet it is also the most vulnerable sector. One scare and people will stop traveling, an immediate standstill on planes taking off, and cruise ships remaining at port. To prevent a fallout in destination Jamaica, work is being embarked on to build a resilient tourism industry.
How do we build resilience, and how do we ensure that our destinations can respond to these global shocks and respond well to mitigate its impact, one, and two, to recover, and recover fast from it, but to recover and build better. And I think therein lies the whole notion of resilience.
The ministry cannot prevent shocks from occurring, but systems and measures can be implemented to recover quickly from these difficulties. The stakeholders involved in building a resilient destination are working to do just that.
The resilience that we talk about has to begin with our human factor.
Human resource is Destination Jamaica's biggest asset. The workers of the industry represent the most iconic of all the attractions. Infusing those workers with the know-how to cater to the needs of their clientele is at the heart of initiatives such as the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation. The center has already graduated 150 first-world talents to fill top positions in the industry. The internationally certified Hospitality and Tourism Management Program is priming 650 students of 32 high schools to join those ranks in the future. Current tourism workers are also undergoing foreign language training to broaden the communication proficiency of sector employees.
The second, of course, is how to build. Whole business of building better and using better technology to build more climate resistant structures, and also to look at the issues of seismic involvement and how do we build against the seismic challenges that the Caribbean has.
The Port Royal earthquake experience, or even more recent, Hurricane Sandy of 2012 and others, have destroyed tourism havens and hideaways. Now, a collaborative effort is underway between architects and government ministries to develop sound human-made spaces that cater to the desires of visitors.
We don't have the responsibility for the actual build-out. What we have the duty to do is to bring to the attention of our technical partners the need for us to build in a certain way. And that's what we've been trying to do by way of the discussions that we have with investors who are coming in, as well as with our local town planners and the people who are involved in making approvals for business structures and for planning and so on. The other area of resilience is in terms now of our marketing. How do we build capacity to market against the new demographics that are emerging and the new psychographic profiles that are also out there?
In a data-driven era, the social space of the World Wide Web dictates what's hot, including must-go vacation spots. Marketing resilience is using data to make decisions on where to garner visitors and online shoppers. Like any good or item, Destination Jamaica is marketed through the click of a button. Technology is utilized to have greater access to far-flung markets where cultures, language, expectation, and experimental needs are different from Jamaica's.
And the final area that I believe we have to build resilience on is in terms of policy and governance. And this is a very important area because, you know, the world today is asking for a kind of governance that we've never seen before, born out of this new transparency that the technology is demanding.
With the world demanding a different kind of leadership, policies must be implemented to meet those requests. Tourism is more than sun, sand, and sea. It employs a large chunk of the workforce, thus providing foreign exchange earnings. For these reasons and more, it must be resilient.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
No dash no paper, no dash no plastic. Dispose your garbage responsibly. No know how to recycle, learn it quick. And if you drop it, better pick up every piece of it. Plastics last forever, don't forget the bits. Cause when them touch the street, them end up in the sea. Collect pan the reef where they fish them feed. And when you want seafood, I eat your eat.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. No dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica.
This is where the magazine closes for today. Send us an email and give us your opinion on our Heritage Month Parish Travelogue series, Round the Bend. If you missed the parishes highlighted so far, click on our YouTube channel. They are posted there for your viewing pleasure. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkins, and thank you for staying with us, and do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.